Congratulations, you've won a trip to Europe. You might remember when we did this to you and we said that you had 15 minutes to plan the itinerary for your trip to Europe. But of course what happened is the goalposts seemed to keep moving, and Rod would fly in and he'd drop off some information and then he'd disappear, and so it became very difficult to actually plan the trip to Europe. And what we identified there is that there are some common planning traps that people can fall into when they're asked to plan something. First of all, one of the most common planning traps is a fear of the future. We may have achieved this last year, so therefore, rather than aiming for something up here, let's just aim for that this year, knowing full well that all we need to do is the same as we did last year, a little bit harder and a little bit faster. And of course, the insidious thing about this is that if we do that 2 or 3 years running, eventually we are asking people to achieve this with the mechanism that allowed us to achieve that, and we haven't revisited the mechanism. Fear of the future. Another common planning trap is, of course, idea killers. What happens is people come up with phrases like, that won't work, or we can't do that, or we've tried that before, or let me tell you what's wrong with that idea. And what these do is that they kill ideas often about revisiting the mechanism before we even start planning. And another common planning trap you might remember is, what's the first step? If you have a room of 12 intelligent people and you ask the question, what's the first step? You will get 12 intelligent answers. Attached to each one of these answers is going to be a little bit of ego, and then our planning meeting becomes endless debate about why your idea is better than my idea is better than someone else's idea. And this is what often happens in planning meetings. So if we're going to run a planning meeting, which of course is the whole how component to our direction setting meeting, then we need to do this in a way that eliminates these planning traps. So you might remember that we had a process that would help us reduce, if not even eliminate, some of these common planning traps, and that was PERT. Program Evaluation Review Technique. And you might remember that what PERT asked us to do was to start with the end in mind and work our way backwards, and to keep it very global, to avoid the arguments that would endlessly happen when we try and start at a details level. And so we needed to start with the end in mind, assume that we have achieved our goal, and we ask ourselves, what happened before that? And you might remember we did this, is we got you to write down some goals, we got you to stand up and grab a piece of flip chart paper and stick those goals on the flip chart paper, and then to use the post-it notes and work your way backwards. What happened before that? And we asked you on each of these post-it notes to keep it nice and global, and also to keep it past tense, to remind ourselves that we've already achieved this. And so the technique that we use for this is we needed a noun and a past tense verb. So in the example we gave, as we've got our little dog here he is, he's happy and alive, something happened, and here he is, the poor dog is not well at all. So we need to record the event that happened in between this, not the consequences of the event. And we also need to record the event in a way that keeps us nice and global and reminds us that it has already been achieved. And the way to do that is to do it with a noun, dog, and a past tense verb, shot. And so we asked you to do this for your particular goals, and what you ended up with at the end of this is a critical path of activities that would need to be dealt with or addressed in order to achieve your seemingly unachievable goal. But more importantly than that, what we noticed is that as we did this, this prompted conversations between the people that were involved. And these conversations allowed us to understand more about what other people in our team are trying to do and what they're going through. So it reduced the number of crises, it reduced the severity of crisis, it increased team cohesion as we implemented the plan. And that's really what getting people involved in doing a PERT planning is all about.